Hey guys, Tanya from My Fancy Design Shop here, and I'm going to go over just a fun new project you can follow along with me with my new Life with a View Procreate set, which is a landscape builder. So if you want to learn more about this set, I do have a previous video on it. So you can head down to the caption roll. I'll figure out how to add it to the iCard up at the top of this video. But pretty much, this set, you can create amazing landscapes with mountains, trees, moons, stars, comets, all that. And with a very realistic watercolor effect, mainly because the moon and the mountains and the trees are all hand painted by watercolor by myself. And I turn them into digital stamps, so you're able to use it in Procreate. So this is just one of the examples that you can make with it, but we're going to just kind of make a new little project. I'm going to figure out as I go. I don't have any plan with design or color, so it'll be fun. And yeah, so let's get started. What you want to do is grab one of the shapes. So I am going to... Let's see, you know what? I haven't actually used the triangle much. So let's grab the triangle, and I like to just stay with black, and you want to stamp it on. And what we're going to do is just make sure uniform is on. I do like magnetics to be on just so it kind of stays straight. And I am going to enlarge that. Okay. Next, I am going to make sure I have alpha lock on, and I am going to grab my monoline brush. And right now I'm just going to I'm going to do my background sky blue. So I'm going to color that in, and then I'm going to start adding different colors. So I'm going to go for a lighter color. And what I want to do is just concentrate on the top half, because on the bottom, my mountains or my trees or even both are going to cover it, but I would still recommend coloring it in. And let's do, I like that color. Okay. So right now I am going to actually blend it by hand. If you don't want to do that, you can go to, let's see, no. Gaussian blur and go to layer, and then you can blur it out like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my smudge tool right up here, the pointer finger. I'm going to grab my dark edge blender, and I'm just going to blend in the colors a little bit, because I do like that texture. It kind of reminds me of clouds, and then I can actually control where the colors go a little bit more. But I do use the blur often, but for this look, I just kind of want like more of a texture. Okay, so after I add that, what I can do next is add my stars. So what I like to work in layers and a lot of clipping masks. So then that means that if I end up doing something and I don't like it, I don't have to start all over. So what I want to do is hit that plus sign, add a layer, tap on it, and go to clipping mask. Going to grab white, and I'm going to grab my multi-stars, and I'm just going to kind of tap it around. Now the multi-star stamps, they have like larger and smaller ones, and then I can even add the Starry Sky Spray, which is a little bit smaller. And it's okay, you can add them down here so you don't, because you don't know exactly where our mountains and trees are going to be. But you don't have to worry because they're going to be covered, so you can just add them. And I think it's really fun to add a star. And so sometimes you have to play around with the sizes. So I'm going to add one there. And you can also, like if you see, it does have a little dot in the middle, but you can also add it to an existing star as well. And let's do another one up here. Okay, then, you know what, why not add a comment, right? So what I'm going to do is actually add this on another layer, and you can add it as a clipping mask as well, just because so that when I stamp it on, I can easily just move that or resize it. And I'm just going to keep it there for now. We can move that later because again, we're going to work in a lot of clipping mask. Next, I'm going to add another one. Again, choose clipping mask. And again, I like to just use the color black because I can change the color. And what I'm going to do is go to my mountains, and you can either, there's a few layered designs, but you can also create your own. And I think I'm just going to create my own. I only want maybe 2 layers because this is a triangle shape. So let's choose, let's see, I want something a little bit lower. So I'm going to add that one. So I stamp it on. Easiest way to resize it is you click on that arrow and you just want to move it. And again, do you see how we're on that clipping mask? So it's only going to show up on to our base layer right here. So let's kind of resize it to maybe around there. And you don't have to really worry about covering it because we are going to layer another one. I think, you know what, let's keep it there. Okay, next I'm going to add another layer. You know what? Let's concentrate on this layer because I'm going to show you a few tricks on how to use them. So what we want to do is make sure alpha lock is on. You can now pick a color. So like a brown. Let's see what that'll look. And usually mountains in the background are a little bit lighter than the ones in the foreground that are closest to you. So I'm just going to choose this color. I'm going to fill it in. Okay, so now you'll see that because this is a watercolor texture, it's a bit not necessarily transparent, but the opacity is pretty low. If you like this look, totally you can keep it. If you want something more opaque, here's the trick. You want to tap on that mountain. You want to click on reference. You want to add a new layer, but you want to move it under your reference layer. Okay? You want to grab the color white. And you want to make sure, again, you're on that new layer. You're going to drag that color and drop it into where the mountain is. Now you see it took over my whole canvas, and up here you'll see color drop threshold is pretty high. Make sure your Apple Pencil is still on the screen and you're going to move it to the left, and you see how that threshold is decreasing. See, so now really high, but we're going to bring it back down until it's just where the mountain is. So you see right here, this is literally a copy of the mountain. Okay? So here's the difference. This is without it, and here's with it. So it's really, again, preference, what effect you want to go for, optional step. Now, take reference off. You want to go back down to your white layer. Here's another optional step. You'll see white kind of on the outside of the mountain. You can keep that, or what you can do is move it a little bit down. So to remove that white layer, what you want to do is you grab that, make sure that's highlighted. You're going to hit the arrow and you can just move down. Okay? Sometimes if you'll see white peeking through by just moving it down, you can go back to that, go to warp, advanced mesh, and that's where you have more flexibility as to where it goes. So you see how I can move it now with just moving these circles. So you can do that as well. And what you want to do is just kind of hide that white layer. You want to do the same thing with your other mountain. So we're going to add another mountain. I'm going to add a new layer, change that to clipping mask, and let's pick a different color. Let's do more of a darker brown, and we'll grab, let's see, one of these. Let's do this one, and we'll stamp it on. Now, because I want the higher side to be on the left, I'm just going to tap on that arrow, go to flip horizontal. And again, I want to make sure that I'm on uniform. We were on a warp before because we were working with this layer here. So switch back to uniform. And let's move this around here. Again, you can kind of move it around. You might want to take the magnetics off and kind of resize it there. And let's do that. Okay, so next we want to do that white layer again. So you want to hit reference, add a new layer, bring that below it. So this new layer is below the reference layer. Grab white, make sure you're still on that layer, and you're going to drop in the color exactly where the mountain is. And again, you'll see that white outline. So we're just going to move that a little bit down. Let's see. Okay, so it's hidden, and you see how you might have it there. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just so it's just hidden a little bit. And see, I think I'm going to go to that advanced mesh and just kind of, there we go. So again, a lot of clipping masks, but again, if we messed something up, if say we did something to this mountain here and we didn't like it, or we wanted to move it and it was on this mountain layer, you'd have to start over. So again, I'm a big fan of clipping masks. You want to change reference off. Now you can stop here. You don't have to add trees, or you can just have mountains, you can just have trees, or you can have both. I think I am going to add just a few trees. So I like them to be, I'm going to make them black. And again, I'm going to be on a new layer. I'm going to change that to clipping mask. Now with my trees, I'm going to use the cluster. When I add them, see again, I want to make sure I'm in uniform. I'm going to turn magnetics on, and I'm going to resize them, okay? Even with my trees, I tend to like to make sure that they're on their own clipping masks so I can move them around. So I'll keep adding more. And then in the end, when I know I like it, I'll merge just all the trees together. But I do it this way because I'm able to move them around. So if I had this tree, I'll show you right here. If I had this tree on the same layer as these, I wouldn't be able to move it around. So that's why I always make sure I'm on a new layer. I stamp it on, and I am going to resize it. So I'm just going to add my trees now, and you can pause the video and do it yourself, or follow along. I'm going to speed it up a little bit so you're not watching me forever adding my trees, and then I'll come back and go over a little bit more details like the moons. Okay, so I am done with my trees. If you watched, I know it was sped up, but I did a kind of a cluster over here, and what I did is I merged all those layers together. I duplicated it, and I actually flipped it horizontally and just moved it on this side. You don't have to do that, but that's just an easy way to kind of like quicken the process a little. And then I just filled in the middle. So you see all of these layers right here. I'm just going to merge them. Again, make sure that that's how you want the trees. Otherwise, once you merge them, unless you can keep hitting that undo button, you're gonna have to start over. So what I'm going to do also is maybe move them down just a little bit. I want to see the mountains just peek through a little bit more. And another fun way, I'm going to alpha lock my mountains if they're not already. And this is this one right here. I'm going to add maybe like a little snowy top to it. So what I'm going to do is, let me move that back up. I'm going to my brushes set, and I'm going to choose my color stamp right here. And I'm going to just kind of, let me just bring down the opacity. I want to just see what it might look like if I kind of did that to the tops of it. I think that would be pretty cool. I actually saw my friend Yuli from Lettering Reese on Instagram use my set like that, and I thought it was really, really cool. And this one, a little bit more. And I'm stamping up here because if I stamped here, it's going to bring it too much onto my mountain. So I know my brush size is pretty big, that if I go like this, it'll still show up. Okay, so I'm going to leave my mountains like that. Again, another trick is if you don't like this color, you can go to your layer, go to hue, saturation, brightness, and layer, and then easy way is to just move these settings so you don't have to start all over again. So say we wanted to keep that pink, and maybe we'll bring the saturation a little bit higher. We'll change the hue a little bit. No, it's basically the same there. But that's a simple way. Same with the background. That's just the easiest way to change your colors without having to start over. And let me show you the moon. The moon is fun to use. So you don't necessarily have to be on a clipping mask because the moon is never going to be bigger than your base. But we'll have it all in clipping mask to be easy. So what you want to do is go back up to the shapes, grab one of the moons, stamp it on. And then that's when you want to kind of resize it. Let's see. Where do I want to put it? Okay, we're going to put it right here. Now, do you see how I have that comment on its own layer? That's so we can then change it and move it around. Okay. Now going back up to our moon, you want to make sure alpha lock is on. And sometimes what I like to do is go on to like unsplash.com or even search on the internet for moons or, night sky, landscapes, mountainscapes, just for an inspiration. And you can use that to help you with the color scheme, how it blends. That's really, really helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of stay maybe like in the golds, and I'm just going to fill this layer. So that's my base. And then what I'll do is you see how some of that background blue is popping through because, again, the moons were hand painted, so they have that realistic watercolor texture. So it's going to be a little bit transparent in areas. We want to do the same thing that we did for the mountains. So you want to hit reference, add a new layer, bring that below it, grab white, and you're going to drop in to the moon. So we have that there. Here's a trick. What I'm going to do, you still want to move that. So it's we lost it. There it is. We still want to move it so the white is kind of hidden. But before you do that, if you want a kind of a glowing effect, duplicate that layer. Okay. Now with this one, we just want to move it. Now you will have to use warp and advanced mesh for this, and just move it as best as you can. We might have to turn that one off so you can see better. You just want to move it as best as you can. Again, it's not going to be perfect, and that is okay. It doesn't matter. It's not about having the perfect, lines, all that stuff. It's art. Art is not meant to be perfect. Okay, so you have your white one. We're going to keep this second white layer off for right now so we can just concentrate on the moon. So turn reference off. Again, make sure alpha lock is on. And now we're going to stamp in our colors. So this is when I like to use my color stamp as a brush. And I'm just going to pick some fun colors. Actually, they're probably not even going to be that fun. They're going to be very kind of monochromatic in the same family. But I'll go around and I'll just kind of choose random colors, see what I like. I'll change the opacity and the sizing. And this is when I'll go to my smudge tool. I'll grab my color blender and I'll just kind of blend in the colors a little. and I'll be able to move them around a little bit more. And then what I'll do is I'll go back with my color stamp and I'll continue to stamp around until I get the effect that I want. And sometimes I won't blend it because I'll like that kind of texture that it has. I think I might keep it like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I have my moon, I did my colors. Now what you want to do is go back down to that very bottom layer of the moon. You want to turn that back on. Tap on it so it's highlighted. And this is going to give us our glow. So you want to go to Gaussian Blur, Layer. You're going to move your Apple Pencil to the right, and you'll see it start blurring out and giving you a really cool, like glowing effect. That's when you can also, if you want to bring down the opacity, you can. So it's just a little bit subtle. And there you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because I know this is going to bother me, I'm going to highlight all of these layers. I'm going to group them together so they're all in one group. I'm not merging them yet. Okay, next what I want to do is, let's do the Polaroid. I think that would be fun. So I think a really cool way to add a background is to use a wood seamless brush. So what you want to do first is grab a darker color. I'm going to use a darker brown, and I'm just going to fill in my new layer. Let's see. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to fill it in. Then I'm going to add another layer on top of it, and with the lighter color, I'm going to grab my seamless wood brush and I'm just going to color in. I know it's not a very attractive color. Sometimes it's easier to use your finger. Not the color you want, not realistic. We're going to change that. So what you want to do is go up to hue, saturation, and brightness, layer, and you're going to play around with these settings. You can bring the saturation down a bit. Could change the hue. Okay, see already it's looking better, right? Next, you can also change your bottom layer as well. So if you bring saturation a little bit down, maybe darken it, already realistic, right? What we can also do is group these together, tap on that, so you can move all of them together and make sure they're in uniform. And we can enlarge in that so they're a little bit bigger planks. And move it around. So now we have like a fun wood background. And what we're going to do next is, I have this really cool Polaroid. It's a PNG file, so that means, as you can see, the background's going to pop through. Now to add this, I already have it into my canvas, but to add it, you're going to go to Actions, Insert a Photo, and it should be in your photo gallery. If it's not, it should be in your files, so you can insert a file. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Next, what I'm going to do is turn on my, let's see, let's use our watercolor paper. You know, now I'm adding a little bit more details, more and more. This is my watercolor paper texture. Again, you would add that to your canvas the same way. Actions and insert a photo. And this is when we can just make it that same size to fit in there, okay? Next, what you want to do is grab your layer, your landscape, and you're going to put it there. I know it's not going to fit right now, but to do that, now this is great because you have it as a group, you can resize all of them together and have it fit right in that Polaroid. And so you have a really cool effect. Also, if you want more texture, I know this is an optional step. Open up your grouped layer for your landscape. Add a new layer above it. Go to Clipping Mask. Grab the color black. Okay. Click on the end. This is the layer setting. You want to go all the way down to Overlay. Grab that texture stamp right here in the brushes set. Stamp on it. And so do you see how like you can move it around, you can enlarge in it so it covers your landscape. And so I'm going to zoom in a little and hopefully you can see it. So this is without the texture stamp and this is with. So it just gives you a little bit more of that watercolor texture. Again, make sure you're on a clipping mask so it only shows up on your landscape. And that's it. That's just a fun little project you can do. Again, it's all, I mean, you don't have to place things the same way that I do. Some of the designs that I've seen on Instagram, people are actually using the moon stamp, so it's coming over. So it's just peeking through the mountains. And actually, instead of a night sky, it's more of like a morning sunrise sky, which is amazing. Again, you can have like different color mountains. You could just have them like black and grays. Mountains with trees or just trees. It's just super fun. And what you can also do is you can actually add a little fun writing there. I'm going to use one of my brushes from my basic set. And I'm going to use a thin brush. And make sure you're on that top layer, and we can layer something like, we'll go easy, we'll do landscape because I can't think of anything else right now, but you can just layer it on right there. And I'm really a huge fan of having it as like a Polaroid. That's like, I've been seeing that everywhere, and I think it's just really cool. Okay, so there you go. Another fun way, and I know I'm, I'm adding so much to this, but what I think is really cool, and it's just my preference, is when things are on an angle. So what we can do, now this is when you want to grab all of the layers. So you want to grab your lettering, and to do that you can just swipe on that layer. So basically you want to grab your first layer, swipe to the right on the next one and the next one. And so you have all of them together. Hit the arrow and we're just going to like move it just a little bit like that. And you can even like make it bigger that way too, as long as everything is selected. And there you go. So that's just one of like fun ways, a fun project to use my Life with a View landscape set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me here on YouTube, or it's best you can find me on Instagram at My Fancy Design Shop. And if you want to grab the set for yourself, all the links are in the caption.